There we go. How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. I hope all is well. I'm going to go over the updated Survivor tier list for the daddy of all updates. I've been playing a little bit more frequently. I was doing my thing, working out, getting tatted up, looking like a weeb out here. But now we are back. We are playing this game a little bit more consistently. We had some time to play against Ball. Ball had an update. Brock had an update. So now I feel like the characters are falling into place or have fell into place, and now I can discuss the tiers. So there will be timestamps for the characters, for any character that you want to look at. Along with that, I do change my builds very frequently on characters. I don't like having the same build forever. Even if I find the magic build, I like changing builds just to keep things a little bit spicy, because when you have thousands plus hours in this game, if you don't change things up, it'll get very boring very fast. So let's get into the tier list. So the tier list is going to be S tier is going to be characters that are super strong by themselves, and characters that are not super strong by themselves but are pretty decent when paired up in certain comps or with certain characters, they'll be at the back of S tier. So the front of S tier is going to be characters that are just super strong by themselves. And then you're going to have A tier. A tier are characters that are strong, but they do require mostly some sort of assistance. These are characters that have decent team utility. Then we're going to go into B tier. B tier is going to be characters that aren't really that outstanding in terms of their class and what they can deliver. But when they have buffs or certain types of support, it can push them to a pretty decent level. And then of course we're going to have C tier. C tier is going to be characters who are, once again, they can be really strong in the right comps, but it's going to require a whole lot of teamwork to push them into a really threatening level, just because other people probably in their class or whatever just offers a lot more than they do. So first off, in S tier, we're going to have to go into Hunter Ash. Hunter Ash is definitely an all-around solid character. The reason being is because he is very hard carried by his active. His active ability is Exorcist. It allows you to just give a middle finger to the demon player and just insta-kill a basic unit. That gives them plenty of time to escape, especially early game when the demon's energy isn't that up to snuff. Of course, being able to see crates with Treasure Hunter is not too bad. You can kind of go past commons if you don't want them and kind of hunt according to a color that you want. It also saves you maybe a second or so because you know where crates are around walls. It's pretty okay. I'm the guy with the double barrel, and Weapon Master Double Barrel does allow you to spawn with pretty much one of the strongest long guns in the game, which is the double barrel, and it gives you a weapon mastery. So you have a bunch of damage and actually a bunch of balance bar, which is pretty good for breaking units. When you are prestiged up to prestige 1, you do get an extra 5% across the board for the double barrel, getting a 25% boost. Because there's only 2 shots in the double barrel, you can go into last chance and get that consistent 20% boost. And if you widen the spread, and because you're shooting really up close often, Wig Splitter will also proc very often. I don't really go into too much with builds. ED2 Ash is just super simple, but super effective. Once again, especially thanks to his very strong active ability, which is an insta-kill, a fuck you to the demon. Next up, we're actually going to go with ED1 Ash. Evil Dead 1 Ash has been S tier on my list for a while. I believe on all my tier lists. But I'm not just saying that because he is my main character. He's just a ridiculous character, especially when you are able to 1v1 units by yourself as a support, and at times with the right setup and the right weapon without even using a Shemps. It gets really ridiculous what this guy can do. Reassuring Presence is active. It allows him to actually reduce the fear of the team, which is pretty decent in this ball meta as well. Ball, pup, whatever it be. Alternate healing, 20% of the damage you do is restored as health, 25% at Prestige 1. This allows you to actually have some decent combos with another character we're going to go into, which is Brock and other leaders. But the numbers on alternate healing can get really fucking crazy with the leader boost. Even if you're by yourself, if you're decent at dodging and actually using amulets, so you can use an amulet and do heavies, and you can actually heal health underneath your armor to make you deceptively tanky. And it gets really, really fucking crazy. His ability to 1v1 with a decent 3 or 5 speed weapon, and even a common lumberjack axe will allow you to just dunk on characters. But it does take a bit of a know-how, and it does require you to probably eat a couple of lights, dodge a heavy when needed, or dodge certain parts of the combo string. But with some practice, he's just going to be a nutty character for you to go off on your own. And this alternate healing is not just good for going off on your own and maybe looting by yourself, being a little bit risky, but it's also good for healing up the melee-focused teammates around you. But he also has marked target damage and marked target healing to give him a decent amount of sustain, and marked target damage actually does not have a range limit outside of ED1 Ash's gun, but headshots mark the target for 5 seconds. Anyone shooting the target does 20% more damage. Super strong. If you invest in guns for yourself, you can easily handle yourself against certain units with a gun. Even a revolver, a basic bitch revolver, you can do pretty solid with my boy. And of course, on the book, this is great for taking out Evil Ash. If you don't want to go for the flute, this does mitigate the damage resistance the flute gives up, and you can actually melt Evil Ash without even going for the flute, without losing that pressure. It's super clutch, dude. Next up in S tier, we're actually going to go with Leader Ash or El Jefe. Of course, you can run whatever build you want. In this ball meta, anti-fear is not bad. It allows you to reduce the scaling. So anything that has a D-fear, anti-fear is pretty decent, because ball scales up according to fear, and if you reduce the fear, ball units do less damage. Pretty solid. His active ability is Show Up and Blow Up. It is an AoE explosion. You can use it after a combo for a combo cancel for a pseudo 5th hit. This pseudo 5th hit that you do, especially if you have a sledgehammer, will actually allow you to have some decent 1v1 potential with units, because it'll give you a decent amount of balance bar breaking power, 180 balance bar damage at Prestige 5 for his active, or 150 balance bar damage at Prestige 1. It's effectively about 2 or 3 hits with the sledgehammer, light hits rather. Definitely, if you are 1v1ing with my boy El Jefe, you don't want to spam heavies if they are easily interrupted, especially with the lumberjack axe. You want to get in that light, get a couple of lights in, back off, and do Show Up and Blow Up, or combo cancel your last hit into a Show Up and Blow Up. Your last hit, your 4th hit could be a heavy, and you go into that. El Jefe is his aura. He walks around with it. 15% damage increase, 20% fear increase, plus 5% on both if he is Prestige 1. This allows you to, of course, buff anyone's damage, regardless of if they are a warrior or a hunter or whatever. And it also gives you a decent amount of fear resistance. El Jefe Grande procs when he dismembers an enemy or lands a finisher. That actually doubles his aura. So you're gonna go into upwards of 40% damage increase and 50% fear resistance, which is going to be really, really good, really clutch, for preventing certain fear loops, and just for once again mitigating damage against Ball, who has decent mid-game pressure, and mitigating possessions for your team. Pretty decent, pretty sweet. Old friend, he starts the match with a chainsaw, which is okay. It means maybe if there's a very aggressive demon, you can afford to give a weapon to just another teammate. It's not the best perk, but it is decent. You start with something. Maybe you're in a very annoying scenario where you spawn and there's like 3 basic units already on you. You can clear them a little bit faster. Pretty decent. El Jefe also has 4 pink F in melee and 4 pink F in ranged, allowing him to have not the most reload reduction or attack speed increase, but he does have decent damage in both. And then of course he has solid El Jefe leader pink F across the tree. Next up in S tier, I'm gonna have to go with never mind. We don't bring demons into this tier list. Okay, so next up is going to be actually for me lower S tier. Just at the end of S tier is going to be Annie. The reason why, Annie does have a crazy buff to guns. So you're going to have the 30% howitzer and up to 35% at prestige 5, giving your team a 65% damage increase with guns. Great, wonderful, but she does not have anti-fear. The reason why is because it's just in her kit to not have anti-fear, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue when it comes to demon powers, when it comes to ball and scaling damage. But of course, if you're going all offensive, you have, of course, the 65% increase, which is not bad. And then you have Haymaker and Slugger for additional balance bar to basic and elite units. Bosses do become balance bar immune, but until they have the 5th invest, that 60% extra balance bar to boss units, it can get a little bit nutty. Used to be 100%. I'm glad they nerfed that. That shit was dumb. But definitely, for a lot of people, they will go balance bar and, of course, bring out the sledges and have a good time. The only reason why she's at low S is because there are some times where, maybe some pure melee damage is going to be a bit more affordable on book if you are facing, let's say, a necromancer, and that necromancer has a 5th pink F alignment, and then you have only melee people, and your leader is Annie. Is going to be a little bit not the best there. But that's the only reason why she's in low S tier. She's still a very solid character. Guns are super strong in this game, and I want to make sure Annie has the all due, just the respect that she deserves. She definitely went up a little bit on this tier list for me. Part of it is also because of Ball. Being able to, let's say you have a full range, great influence, you pop your ability, and being able to take your teammates and take out possessions from a bit of a distance is actually a lot better, because you do also avoid this fear spike that they have when they attack you. They spike your fear up a little bit. Once again, there is a little bit of avoiding fear that comes with Annie, so I will prioritize that. And we don't include demons on our tier list, so somebody has to be kind of in that zone. So here we go. We're going to go into A tier. A tier for me, I said characters that are solid, great all around, but they got a little something. And first up, we're going to go with Brock. Brock Williams is a character that is a leader that has 5 pink F in melee, 5 pink F in ranged. Definitely great offensive stats. Great for the book. Super great. Also, that reload reduction comes super clutch if you have the lever action, you can depossess your teammates with that near instant reload on that lever action. Super solid, man. Love this guy. His active allows him to pick up maybe 2 or 3 people, but he still takes damage. But the ability for people to just fall on each other, literally right on top of each other, Brock just presses his active and get everybody up is super clutch. He counts for himself. So that will be his active called All Eyes on Me. Life of the Party is interesting. It actually, I believe, includes himself. So at base, it's 10% fear reduction because he is a leader. But it's 10% fear reduction for each leader, 10% melee for each warrior, 10% range damage for each hunter, and 10% cooldown for each support. Typically, there's only going to be one support, so you walk around with 10% extra cooldown. Which is going to be clutch with warriors and hunters because some of them actually invest in will be cooldown reduction, so your cooldown will actually go with their cooldown for a decent amount of cooldown. I said cooldown a lot. Blood Ties is something that he is also walks around with a 5% damage reduction. He is a Williams member, so I believe he also walks around with Blood Ties as well. And I Am the Manager allows him to walk around with 2 extra amulets, 2 extra shemps, 2 extra matchsticks. Matchsticks comes in clutch, and 15 extra ammo, allowing him to carry the most ammo in the game, holding something like a fucking 80 handgun bullets. This is really, really good, especially if your team is mostly melee comp, and you have maybe one hunter, 1 or 2 shooters, and if you're primarily meleeing as Brock, this will allow you to carry enough ammo for maybe your support and your hunter, and if times may need be, things need be rather, your second leader or yourself. Really solid character. Something I do want to note actually with my boy is that when he is combined with ED1 Ash, OG Bullhead, Bullhead Ash actually has 25% healing on alternate healing, but with my boy, he can actually get 10% extra healing because Blood Ties. It increases your healing by 5%. If you have, let's say, Arthur and another non-family member, that's 10% extra healing, 35% extra healing. Or you can just add a 5% extra healing and have on El Jefe or somebody else that boosts melee. So you can boost up ED1 Ash's melee, and you can boost up the healing percent of the melee for some really fucking ridiculous heals. Yeah, definitely Brock is pretty decent, is an A tier. But he only has 2 pink F in stamina. That leaves him a little bit winded. He is an old man, but he does his best to contribute to the team. Next up, we're going to have some moving up of certain characters. Scotty is actually going to jump up to A tier. The reason why Scotty is jumping up to A tier is actually because of collateral damage. So his AoE explosion is okay. Collateral damage is the main thing because it provides crowd control. He also has a built-in defear, which is of course decent in this ball meta. Having a warrior that can consistently handle fear a little bit, especially with a strong anti-fear team. Collateral damage allows you to, in a 9.8 feet or 10.8 feet at Prestige 1, bring 13% or 15% of your heavy damage to nearby enemies. And the thing about this is that you do have, of course, leaders that will buff your damage to a decent degree, and 15% when you have a 50% or more buff from leaders will put you in a pretty good damage splash for crowd control on book, and it also is pretty good against, once again, anti-necro, anti-pup, just pretty decent in general. He's a really simple character, and of course he attacks a little bit faster with the lumberjack axe. The lumberjack axe is pretty decent. 5% extra attack speed is alright. 20% dismemberment, 20% extra balance bar though. Only 5% extra damage as well. But the 20% balance bar damage comes really clutch. So do know how to combo cancel and get your swings in. Next up is going to be Amanda. Amanda is actually a little bit lower on my tier list. However, Amanda is going to be a little bit higher now. The reason why she's a bit higher is because of Bill. Being able to just absolutely nuke, but also nuke from a distance, is something that people don't really cherish or don't really appreciate. And I think I'm one of the few players that actually go into ranged and close up with Amanda Fisher. Ammo for days allows her to shoot no cooldown, or no reloading rather, for 7 seconds or 9 seconds. And this gets really, 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 really fucking nutty. Especially when you combine it with her last perk, Accuracy Counts. She gains a 3% extra damage for each hit, up to 18% extra damage, giving her a pseudo mastery on any gun. So when you are at the book stage where you are less likely to miss, you will gain 18% extra damage on you can gain rather 18% extra damage with any gun that you use. It gets really fucking nutty. Weapon Master Pistol, you do get 20% extra damage, 20% balance bar, 20% dismemberment, and 5% reload speed increase. And you do start with the pistol. The pistol will actually outdamage the SMG. For those who are curious, the SMG is 60 at common. The pistol is 55, but if you factor in the 20% weapon mastery, it is bumped up to 66. So it'll be 66 common versus SMG 60 common. At legendary, the pistol will be bumped up to 102 per shot, while the SMG remains at 90. So those are things to keep in mind. She is allowed to actually use a lot of guns very effectively, just because she also doesn't have to reload. So for example, if you want to go into the repeating crossbow, which is just as strong as a revolver but shoots pretty much like a pistol or lever action, you can make it work on Amanda, just because she doesn't have to reload, so you can shoot that fast while stacking up accuracy counts. Any gun works in her hands. It gets super nutty. And for more long drawn out games where ammo might be a little bit scarce, her ability allows her to compensate for that. Great deleter on book, and if you are a believer in the lever action, she will be able to shoot from a distance and actually keep her fear at bay by camping a light source and shooting into the objective with the lever action, which is only a little bit weaker than the revolver, but has a fire rate more akin to the pistol, a little bit slower. So that's why she is here. She is very flexible, and she can play in a way that allows her to delete units on objective while kind of camping a light. She can keep her fear at bay, which is pretty good for the ball meta. That she doesn't have to drop her gun, and the team doesn't have to worry about her. She can be off the objective, deleting units on the objective, not having to worry about balls, active traps, none of that. She just does her thing. But of course, she is a hunter. She's a hunter with a risk. It is best to be mindful, and she is outshined, mostly mid-game, thanks to Evil Dead 2 Ash, who has an insta-kill. If Evil Dead 2 Ash did not have an insta-kill, Amanda will be in S-tier place. But unfortunately, he does not have an insta-kill. Next up in A tier, we're actually going to have Cheryl. The reason why Cheryl is in A tier is because she carries 8 sheps. She gets extra healing from drinking. And there's a slight deef here. That's it. Just super consistent. And in this meta, when things can go haywire a little bit, consistency is collateral sometimes. So, nothing really much to say about Cheryl. She's a basic bitch that heals stuff. But her consistency does help. And of course, she is a Williams. So, she will give that extra damage reduction when she is chilling with Brock. Next up, we're actually going to have my boy David. David is also going to be in A tier. So the thing about that is that he has a D-fear active as well, but it's over time. Especially if you go into Prestige 5. If you go into Prestige 5, it's a 3% D-Fear per second. 3 D-Fear per second, and it goes, yeah, and it lasts quite a bit. It lasts for 30 seconds. So that's going to be 90 D-Fear, a D-Fear of 90. Over, what is that, like, yeah, 30 seconds. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And especially in this ball meta. Other thing too is that Soda Pop does give a free 23% damage reduction. Free damage reduction is not bad for a drink. It is good to drink a Shemps and then pop an Amulet just to make the team a little bit tougher. Don't just spam Shemps. You want to mitigate the Shemps that you use. Weapon Master Nail Gun. The reload speed is actually 20% on the Weapon Mastery Nail Gun, and I really do like how they actually added the value of that mastery on there. The dismemberment and the balance bar, of course, is up 20%. So if you want, you can go balance bar build on David. The Weapon Mastery Nail Gun, especially if you are decent with shots and headshots, yeah, you will be doing a decent amount of damage to the opponent. Once again, a super simple character, super decent. But he has decent utility for protecting the team, especially when kind of countering a little bit. Ball's Manhunter. Ball is definitely, as I said, the meta. So countering things like skeletal injury or Manhunter, which allows your team to take 40% extra damage, adding some mitigation just to cut some of that stuff off. It's going to be really decent. And of course, next in A tier, we're going to have to go with Warrior Ash. He's a jack of all trades. He has a drink that boosts his attack, boosts his defense. He is a little bit defears. He just walks around very beefy, very tanky. Free shield blast explosions for 160 damage every time he loses a shield bar. Doesn't need to be a complete shield bar, just something. Free shield regeneration upon finishers. And Weapon Master Chainsaw. Meh, extra attack speed, meh, extra damage. But that balance bar damage and dismemberment damage from the mastery does come in handy for my boy. So once again, super simple character, but he's beefy. He got sustain. What are you gonna do? He can't be below A tier. Next, we're gonna go into B tier. So B tier, and I said characters that are decent. And they have decent utility, but they're going to be missing a little bit of stuff. So we're going to go the top of B tier is going to be Ed. Ed's main attraction is actually going to be Collector and his active. So his active is a trap, allows him to actually negate traps and prevent them from being set for a set amount of time. That will help keep your team's fear down, which is great for anti-ball, great for anybody, but just especially great anti-ball on objectives. But it also helps control fear, and also helps prevent Manhunter from going off. Manhunter once again increases the damage your team takes by 40%. This helps decrease that. The Collector allows you to actually potentially get better items and better drops, etc. So it is pretty decent. Of course, it's random, so I'm not really enthused by it, but sometimes it works, and when it works great. Open Master Crossbows, decent. It's okay. It's the lowest of the gun weapon masteries. It's alright. Next up, we're actually going to have Arthur. The reason why Arthur is here is because Weapon Master Melee. Weapon Master Melee does allow you to have a consistent boost to melee, which is just once again good when paired with another leader or my boy Bullhead. You can pick Arthur instead of a warrior. Sometimes warriors are iffy here, but Arthur is subbing in as a warrior, especially when paired with El Jefe or Annie is going to be very, very big trouble. So definitely keep that in mind. Of course, Weapon Master Sword does allow him to attack decently fast because he does have 5 pink F in melee. Annie has 5 pink F in ranged. This guy has 5 pink F in melee, so he does get the melee speed boost. You do get the finisher off. And of course, because you are melee focused, Last Word is probably going to be the way to go for that extra damage, especially if you are subbing in for a warrior. You're going to want to do everything you can to get that extra hit, especially if you're going to get off a lot more frequently. You can mix in some lights and then a dodge, so that way your last hit will be a heavy, just to get some of that extra boost going on there. Next up, of course, in B tier is actually going to be Henry. Henry's active carries him, so his active actually allows him to go into the fog and get a pickup or get a resurrection, get a revive, whatever it may be, without taking damage for 7 seconds or 8 seconds at Prestige 5. Not too bad. It also allows him to get a pickup on Clutch when it comes to an objective. Not too bad. But of course, do be mindful that it's only 8 seconds or 7 seconds, which is actually less than Brock's. So although he doesn't take damage, he can be interrupted by a grab. And he can't, I don't think he's going to be able to get a pickup after an interrupt mid-save. So it gets really nutty. I think Brock is actually going to be able to get at least one pickup while being interrupted. Unless he's interrupted maybe at the exact last minute. That's pretty much it. That's the only thing that really stands out about Henry. Him being able to give free balance bar damage is not bad. But if you give free balance bar damage and, you know, they're doing boss, the boss is immune to balance bar on the book most likely anyway. They're going to be at least level 20. So he just drops off. More damage is a bit more appropriate. Mia is actually going to be right alongside that. Because she does have a bit of damage. I've been dicking around with Tank Mia. It's been weird. It's been weird. But Mia basically has bleed. But most games are down to the book. Mid game, she's going to need to control her fear, because she does have the highest damage scaling when she scales with fear. So her damage will cap out a lot when facing a demon like Ball or Puppeteer. But she does need to be mindful, because she will destroy the team because of her high damage scaling. So just be mindful, and if you get a machete on that Mia, oh man, just definitely be careful. Her damage does drop off on book because of the light source, and it only picks up if she can pop her active. So she's here. Next up is actually going to be Kelly. As a hunter, she does damage, she does bleed. Decent mid game, decent balance bar as well, with the meat hammer, and 60% extra damage on that meat hammer. Woo! Good shit. But unfortunately, that's mid game. Most games are played at book, so she drops off because that passive bleed just isn't quick enough for the book. So just because of that, she's going to be here. Most games, and once again, a 1-0 loss at the book against a decent demon. She just doesn't cut it. And she doesn't have the team utility mid game that Ed has, so that's why she's here. She does have some damage utility if she is in a sometimes a 1v1, or maybe being a little annoying shit in the back, but outside of that, she doesn't do much more. Now, of course, we're going to go into C tier. C tier is actually going to be reserved for... Damn, dude. Really? Really? Two characters, bro. Two characters. Pablo. Damn, that's my boy. Pretty much the only thing he does is pop a shield and gives additional shield. But it's only slight additional. That's it. That's all I can say. He doesn't pop up on the map, so maybe that can work. Maybe he can slip by somebody. That's it. That's all I can say about Pablo. It's sad, but I don't think I can really click on his character. There's nothing really in his kit that is worth even looking at. It's just sad. It's my boy. I love him in the show. I'm still gonna play him sometimes in Evil Dead the game, but there's really not much because he is outshined by Blacksmith, who has Rough and Ready, which when he pops an amulet, he gives people an attack boost. Just better throughout the game. And you have a chance of it not breaking. So you might not be able to carry as much amulets as Pablo, but you have a chance of actually using more amulet than Pablo. It's just dumb. But there is a cooldown to this of 40 seconds. So there is a cooldown, so you do need to be mindful of when you pop his ability. Tough as nails. He gets beefy. He got biceps. 400 extra health. He cannot use a gun, but Weapon Master Melee is pretty decent. But of course, because he cannot use a gun, he has someone else blocking the hunter or anybody else on the book. So unfortunately, it might work against your team, or if you have a possessed hunter who's just on his ass, it just works against him. So he has that downside. It's like he's better than Pablo, but he just has that downside, dude. And that's it for the tier list. Holy shit, I don't think I skipped anybody, right? No. Everybody's accounted for? Got it. Everybody's accounted for, guys. I'll try to keep this as simple as possible and as short as possible for you guys. If you guys have any thoughts, if you guys disagree with me, hate me, want to call me all kinds of N-words, all kinds of ninjas, let me know. And I'll catch you on the flip-flop. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.